Hello and welcome back to the Blue Jacket Banner. My name is Jose Gomez and I'm your host. I'm here with three very special guests with me today. And can y'all introduce yourselves?
You go first? Sure. Okay. My name is Molly and I'm from Colquitt County.
My name is Alyssa and I'm from Berrien County.
And my name is Cora and I'm from Brantley County.
So I'm glad y'all made the trip to get here. I know some of y'all took longer drives than others. And before we get to the banter, we want to break the ice. So if you want to spin that wheel, and can you tell me what number it lands on? I'll give you a question to that number that it lands on.
Oh, that was terrible.
Wheel off a TV.
We had one for the cattlemen's and it kept breaking.
I'd say 4.
4?
Yep.
What's your favorite song?
Oh, that's a hard question. Probably In a Life Where We Work Out. I listened to that on repeat on the way here.
I'm scared.
It just spins back and
It
forth.
spins forever. 5.
5? So when you were a kid, what did you want to do when you grow up?
Oh my goodness. I said that I wanted to be a vet for the longest time ever, but I could never do that. There's way too much school.
All right, Cora.
I'm scared I'm going to break it. That won't stop spinning. 6.
6. If you could be any animal, what would you be and why?
That's a tough question. I don't know. Maybe like a bird.
A bird?
That's really random, but like you can go sit on power lines and just like people watch and stuff.
Those ditch chickens in Brantley County?
Now listen here.
All right, so let me scroll down.
They don't really fly that much. They don't sit on power lines, do they?
Rental told us, he's like, y'all know what a ditch chicken is? He was like, that's my school mascot. That's what he tells us all the time. So can y'all introduce yourselves for me? I know you already did a little bit, but maybe tell me where you're from, what your name is, and what chapter you're from.
I can go first. So, my name's Alyssa Knight, and I'm from Berrien County. I actually live in Alapaha, Georgia, and I don't know, I already said that I was from Berrien County, but I'm part of the Berrien FFA chapter.
Okay. So my name is Molly Dale. I'm from Colquitt County, but I live in Moultrie. Basically the same thing, I guess. And I'm a part of the Colquitt County High FFA chapter.
So my name is Cora. I am from, I live in Charlton County, but I go to school in Brantley County. I am from the Brantley High FFA chapter, and I'm on the Area 6 officer team currently. So lots of fun.
So can y'all tell me what animals that y'all show and how y'all got started in the show industry?
You go first?
You go first. So originally, for like the majority of my childhood, I was very heavy in barrel racing. Fun fact. And my horse actually went lame, and my daddy told me that he could either buy me another horse or a show heifer, and I ended up with a show heifer. So I did show some kind of a couple NJSA pig shows when I was little, because that's what Mama and Daddy grew up doing, and I just wound up in the beef industry. So that's where I am now.
What about you, Alyssa?
So I started showing goats when I was in the 8th grade, and if we're being so honest, before then, prior to that, I would have never thought of showing animals, not ever. My ag teacher actually owned some show goats, and she was like, hey, Alyssa, wouldn't you like to show? And it took a minute, but she talked my parents into it, and my 8th grade year, I started showing goats, and I've had a love for it ever since.
Okay, so I showed pigs, and I started showing pigs in the 5th grade. And I started because 2 of my cousins showed pigs. So I loved seeing them win all their banner pictures, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'd love to do that. So, yeah.
Well, I Well, I started showing pigs in 8th grade, and then I took a break during 9th grade, and then my at the end of my 9th grade year, I kind of wanted to do something a little different, and Ware County hasn't had a sheep shower in 40 years, so my advisor was talking me into it, and then he eventually convinced my parents, and then we headed to Tifton to get my lamb for that year. So it was fun, and it's been a fun ride since. So, what could you say is your hot take in the show world?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so I have several, but I think the biggest one, especially in like the cattle industry, is okay, this is very biased, but I think cowboy hats look extremely good on some people and they wear them really well, but bad shaped hats in the ring, especially when you don't wear them on a daily basis, kills me.
Oh. Do you have one? I can't think of anything.
No, I can't think of anything.
One thing that my advisor always says, she said she hates bling, like when everybody wears like the blinged out clothes
Okay,
and everything.
I was kind of thinking
Yeah.
about that, like, people, I know this one girl, she wore, like, this silk shirt, like, she wore, like, bedazzled stuff, like, her boots would be bedazzled and her belt would be bedazzled, and I was like, girl.
Like, I've been to a bunch of showmanship clinics, and that's one thing they really like highlighted was stick to like a one bling
The
rule. So if you
tradition,
have
yeah.
like really sparkly earrings, just keep the rest to a minimum.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. My hot take would probably be like, don't go overboard with jewelry in the show ring, because I feel like it just gets in the way
It
at a point,
does.
especially with like pigs and goats.
Mhm.
Like I'm sure cattle too, but like when
I know
you're bent
definitely with
over
pigs,
and
like,
trying to
bending over,
do things
You
like
know,
that.
like, if I wear a necklace, I only wear, like, one or two, but it's, like, really close up, because if I'm bent
Right.
over, they're, like, hanging out. And
Yeah.
It just looks weird.
Well, alrighty then. So, what could you say is your best memory in showing livestock?
I'll let y'all go first. I have to think about that one.
I don't know that there's just one. I enjoy getting to see all my friends in the barn every time that we're all in Perry or anything like that. Like I love seeing Molly and Jose, and when I can track Cora down
Yeah.
her too.
If you can.
But I don't know. I enjoy spending time with my family, and it's something that me and my sister can do and not fight over all the time. So I have a lot of good memories.
I'm about to say, like Alyssa said, there is a lot of good memories, core memories made in the barns. You know, I like that time that me and my dad spend, you know, we're walking up to those holding pens with the pigs, and it's just like, you know, just me and him. And that's something I'll never forget. But something that really, like, I will keep in my heart forever is last year at our county show, I won the Good Attitude Award. And an ag teacher that's very, very special to me, Miss Mack, she got to present it to me, and she got to say like this little speech about it. I started tearing up. She started tearing up. So you know, it's just those small things like that that just keep me going.
I think when I think about just the last several years, there's two that really stand out to me, and quality family time and getting to spend time with your friends and all is really at the top of that. But I know my freshman year, I had a Semangus heifer, and I loved her to death, and I ended up winning showmanship at the second weekend of the fair, and that was just something I had really, really busted my butt for, and it was just an extremely rewarding moment. And when I was a lot younger, I showed a lot on the Florida Junior Brahma Association circuit, and we were at their stake show in South Florida, and several of my friends grow watermelons, so they had a crate of watermelons in the front of their trailer, and one of my friends had this crazy heifer, and she jumped in that watermelon tub somehow and did not break a single watermelon, and I was just like, oh my goodness. And that's just something that really sticks out. I remember.
That's
What?
crazy.
Jumping in the watermelon tub?
Yes.
I didn't even break one watermelon.
No, she just like
So
balanced
graceful.
swan jumped.
I'll say one of my favorite memories. Some people will say it's good, and some people will say it's bad. But my lamb running away in the ring. But it was during weight class, so it was fine. So So after the judge pulled me in, or after he, I don't know how to say it, how called me out, or when he was placing the lambs, he came up to me and he was giving me reasons on what to do better in her, maybe what to feed. And then he did his hands like this, and then she got scared and she darted off to the other side of the ring. But one good thing about her, she always came back to me, and I'm kind of glad because I know, like, in the lamb barn, like, you'll see kids chasing after their lambs, and I always laugh at that. But then yet again, I'm like, that's probably gonna happen to me, and it did. But that's probably one of my best memories.
Okay, pause, because on that note, that reminded me of something that happened to me when I was in 5th grade, and it like traumatized me. We were at the fair, and it was the second weekend, but there was people all over the barn. I had this really green heifer, and we were switching out we were putting a regular halter back on after showmanship. She got loose, ran through the barn with all the fair people in there, and thankfully she stopped at somebody's feed pens. But I was like having a panic attack.
That is really scary.
Thinking
Get
she was
loose in the barn.
Yeah, I know. We went to, I think it was a Young Farmer show in Perry, and there was this, I can't even remember what it was. I'm not good with cattle. There's this like heifer, and it was dragging this kid out of the ring. Like, he was just coming out of the ring, and it just started darting out. And then me, Renshaw, and my sister, we're like right there trying to go up the steps, and then the heifer's just running towards us. And you see Renshaw dart up the steps. But I definitely say there are a lot of memories that you can make at shows, and there's more memories you can make at the barn, at the house, but I definitely love going to shows. So, on the topic about shows, what could you say are some challenges that y'all have faced with prepping your animals, or just any challenges that you've seen?
Okay, well, so when I got into the show industry, my parents didn't show growing up. They were raised on farms necessarily, but they were not show livestock people. And we had no idea how to fit. Like, it was the biggest deal ever. Because they had just, like, started fitting goats. Like, they haven't been doing it for super long. And I could not fit legs to save my life. And that was all that we were doing. And I had to sit down with my ag teacher, and we had to have serious conversations about how to fit legs on a goat. It was traumatizing. But it's one of the biggest challenges that I've personally faced. And then as well as, like, there's always, like, certain people that show that have, like, so much money that they can spend on their livestock. And it just, I don't know, it's harder to compete. But you just have to get the mindset that it's not about that, and that as long as you're working hard, that everything will turn out how it's supposed to be in the end.
I'll say one thing with pigs, breaking pigs. Oh my goodness. So when I had my first pig, like, my parents didn't show, my parents didn't raise, they were not raised on farms, so we live on a small little piece of land, but we have our barn way back. But when I got my first pig, so my aunt and my uncle came over, and they were like, okay, like, this is how we did it when the girls showed, like, this is what you do. And I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. I chased that pig everywhere. Everywhere. One time he got out into the road and was running, like, down the driveway, and I was like, oh my goodness. Pigs are fast. They get to going, they don't stop.
When they get those zoomies, they start zooming.
Yeah, but I've managed to not have a runner in a while. I've been able to break them real young. I have one at the house. He's like a puppy. He's so tiny, but he walks spot on, his head up and everything. Now I have a Berkshire breeding gilt on the other hand. We're still working on it.
What about you, Cora?
I think that's a hard one. Both of my parents grew up showing pigs, so it was completely different when we started with cows. For a long time, we were really struggling to get calves to drink at shows. Like, they wouldn't fill out. They would stay kind of dehydrated, and just we struggled to get them to eat and drink. But over the years, we've picked up little tidbits of good information, and no, I don't really worry about that. I will say, if you ever have a calf that will not drink, go find a mud puddle, because it will work.
One thing our ag teacher said, she said if any of your animals won't drink at a show, put Sprite in the water. And she said that she did that with her cattle when, like at Perry. She said they would not drink the water at Perry. She just pour like a can of Sprite in their water and they'll start drinking it.
I know we've used Gatorade, like chlorine tablets at home
Yeah, we
before.
always use Gatorade, powdered Gatorade.
Yeah, our teacher will literally bring like a, not like a crate, but like a container that has like water from home in it, and they'll drink that before they'll drink what we have at Perry.
Yeah, because it's like, the way my advisor should explain it, she's like, they're used to the water at home, and when they go to somewhere else, they just know that that water is not the same.
Yeah.
But one challenge about me, I would definitely say switching over from hogs to sheep. It was a challenge because nobody here has ever showed sheep in such a long time. Like the last person that showed sheep was my old ag teacher, my old middle school ag teacher, and that was about like 40 years ago. And she was the first one to show, and I'm the second one. And like nobody here knew anything about sheep, so it was just like it was basically a research project for our whole county. We had like all the ag teachers in on it, trying to see what works, what don't work, but that was definitely something. And breaking sheep, getting them to brace, I've always had a problem with that. And I'll put them on the stand, and I'll push, like, act like I'm pushing them off, but it's just a struggle trying to get them to brace.
I feel like that's the same way with goats too. Usually by the time we get ours, we try to wait a couple months, whether they're a few months old before we get them, just so that maybe the breeders have time to work with them a little bit. Because when you get them fresh, trying to brace is a nightmare.
Yeah,
Like we'll put them on the stand and push them off until they learn their lesson. And I know that sounds so mean, but it's the only way
it's the
to
only
get them
way they're gonna
going.
get to
I
brace.
had like a 600 or 700 pound Charolais heifer from Indiana last year. She had never ever had a halter on her, and I was trying to get. I think I got her in September, and I was trying to get her prepped for December for the expo. It was awful. It was awful.
We can't remember what it was. When I had my lambs out here in the lamb barn or in the barn, I had her up on the stand, and I put like a show box in front of the stand, and I took like the headrest out, and I was standing on the show box, and this was right after I like bathed her and blew her out and everything. So I'm standing on that show box. Keep in mind it's metal, and then the bottom of my shoes are still wet, and there's like no track on my shoes. So like as I go stand on the box, I like slip back, and I fall as I'm trying to get her up there. That was a long day.
I think right before we move on, I think probably one of my biggest struggle was changing from like American influence cattle to like club calves, because I went from like not having to work hair to having to work hair, and it was kicking my butt for a while.
Yeah, because you showed Brahmas, and now you show.
Well, I've got both now. Back in the game.
So, can one of y'all tell me what showmanship is, if y'all can describe it for the people that are watching that don't know what we're talking about? And can somebody else describe what weight class is?
I can do showmanship. You want me to? Okay. So, I think showmanship is basically overall kind of the same thing for everybody, but there's different aspects for different species. I know for pigs, it's all about how much control you have over that animal, how well you can maneuver that animal through the ring, and how well you look while you're doing it. You gotta have that game face on. Gotta stare them down like you're gonna kill them. Just overall, it's just how much time you spend prepping that animal will really pay off in the ring. Because if you have one that'll walk through all the pigs, so I know definitely in Perry they have like 20 pigs in a class, and it is tight. But you can tell the people who work their pigs the best because they find those holes to weave her in and out through.
Cora, do you want to explain weight classes, or do you want me to?
So weight classes is basically like the judges evaluating the livestock as individuals, and it is your job to present them to the best of your ability. And that's where showmanship falls hand in hand with weight class, because if you don't do your homework at home and your animal is going crazy, then they're not looking their best, and sometimes you look kind of silly trying to control them.
Yep. And one thing about weight class that I've learned is cover up what does not look good. So you want to try to cover up the best thing. Because it depends on a lamb. If they're ewe-necked, you got to make sure their head is up high and that you're pushing their neck as far. But I feel like Cora said, they do fall hand in hand. Because if you in showmanship and you're presenting that animal well, you're going to present that same animal well in weight class. Whether if you didn't present them well in showmanship, you're not going to present them to the best of your ability in weight class.
The judge remembers.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they're the best animal out there and you're not showing them well, they're not going to place how they should.
You can show a calf 3 or 4 places higher
Right.
than they could have been without. And I feel like that's where I guess in the lambs, the kind of around the board, that's where our fitting falls in, is you can take a calf that's kind of mediocre and do an extremely good fit job, and you just elevated their potential by several places.
Hair covers a lot of things.
It does. It does. That's why Jose looked taller than me in that picture we took the other day.
Her mom took a picture of us at the show at the fairgrounds here, and Cora sent me a text. She said, "You're only taller because of your hair," and the picture didn't send yet, so I was like, "What?" And then the picture sent, and I'm about like this much taller than her, but it's just because of my hair. So I know that livestock get sick all the time, and especially in this cold weather now. Do y'all know like any, how do I say, like common sicknesses that those certain livestock would get?
I think the biggest problem with our goats is worms. It's not really like a seasonal kind of thing, but it's just so hard to keep them off of them. That and coccidia in the barns is absolutely horrible.
Like once.
And it puts your animal through so much.
Once that animal I'm out. You go ahead.
No.
Off.
That was all I was gonna say.
It's like my lamb that I have right now, Lacey. She got coccidia literally as soon as we got her.
Yeah.
And it was bad. I honestly thought she wasn't gonna make it, and then we ended up getting medicine. And it was expensive.
Yeah, it is.
And one thing I would say that's common in lambs is, like you said, coccidia, and also ringworm. Ringworm in lambs is so bad. I don't know how bad it is in other species, but every time we go to shows, I spray her with ring out right after we're about to load her up on the trailer and head home, and then I wash it off when I get her home, and I spray it again.
Yeah.
But
they can pick up so much at those shows too.
We had, like, as far as our own herd, our ringworm was horrible when it was wet. Like a year and a half ago, it was really bad.
I think for pigs, I think that we struggle with at the house is pneumonia.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. When it gets cold, if you don't keep heat lamps on them, they will get sick. We've had one last year that he went into respiratory failure. That's how bad it was. He was about to die. Mama was crying her eyes out. I said, "Mama, it'll be okay. It'll be okay." But it's actually really hard to get a vet to come out to the house.
Same way for us. Like, it's hard to get a hold of a vet in the first place.
I feel like there's not a lot of livestock vets nowadays. Like around here, we have one, but she's always busy with something, so you gotta like schedule months ahead.
And if there's an emergency, there's no way to schedule months ahead, and you
And
just kind of have to figure it out.
And I feel like one thing, like as soon as you notice something in a lamb or a goat, it's almost kind of too late.
Yeah.
So you got to catch it on really early, because you go. Like once you see those symptoms, it's kind of already a little too late to do anything about it.
Like we have a vet that he lives right down the road from us, but he didn't want to come.
We have ours. I think she's like a all animal vet. She owns. I may be mixing them up. I don't know. I don't even know my own vet. She does cats and dogs, and I'm pretty sure she also does large animals too. But it's just so hard to get a hold of them. And then I haven't really had my lambs get sick, but once they stop, like once you notice they're not eating, you need a call.
They don't meet you at the gate. Better figure something out.
Luckily we've only had 2 pigs that have been real sick. Other than that, we've cuts, scrapes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Luckily we've had healthy pigs. Thank the Lord.
I don't think, like, as far as our family, we've been pretty fortunate. We keep our show cattle in the same protocol we keep our commercial cows, so they're getting vaccinated and dewormed, and I I think probably like Molly said, sometimes pneumonia. They'll get a shot of penicillin and LA 300 and go about their business. But that and the last heifer I bought had mites, and I think she brought them from Indiana with her.
I was gonna say that's another thing that pigs struggle with.
And they
So
just
we
can't get rid of it.
always treat our shavings.
Yep, that's if you buy a bag of shavings, like there's almost mites in every single bag. And this past weekend when we were
Prolate
at
is
the,
my best friend.
you said what?
Prolate is my best friend.
See, I need to buy some. I bought like it's like insecticide, and like you mix it with the water.
Yeah.
We almost did insecticide, but prolate's stronger. So
Yeah, we were at the show at the fairgrounds here. I was clipping my limb out the day before the show, and I noticed a bunch of red bumps on her, and I seen them, and I just, oh Lord, and then I was like, they look like pimples, but they weren't, and then it ended up being mites. So I got home that same day, and I cleaned both of my limbs' pins out. Then I treated the whole barn. Like I did not leave one spot of the barn without that insecticide stuff. And then after I put the shavings, I sprayed it on. But right now, she hasn't had any new bites. But
We just hit ours with some dewormer, and that took care of them mites.
Yeah.
look,
They're bad.
I know mites. Like if you're in a pig barn, like the one out here where all the pigs are next to each other, like once one pig gets sick, they're all gonna get sick because they're like right there next to each other. I know that happened one year. Like, almost every pig in there was sick. Like they had some sort of respiratory thing.
I think that's what pigs struggle with a lot. Is just respiratory things. That's what really gets them. Last year at our Packer Swine showdown, in our protocols we can't make somebody leave if they have a sick pig, but we can ask them, hey, will you go put them on the trailer or whatever. And that's how that pig got sick last year and almost died. It's because there was a sick pig, and it got like half the barn sick, and like some of the people's pigs, they died, and like that fell back on us. And I was like, oh my goodness, that cannot happen again.
I feel like one big thing too is like weather. Like whether it's too hot or it's too cold.
Yes.
Like in Perry, I know it gets bad with hogs. Like I know something happened a few years ago. I don't know about it.
I will say, like when it gets really, really hot, they stress out and can have a heat stroke like ASAP. Like one minute they're up, next they're flopped over dead.
That is the one thing I like about having Brahma influence.
Yeah.
You just kick them out. They're
Yeah.
fine.
Right.
I always say our lambs down here, they're used to hot weather, so once they go up there, they just feel
Yeah.
fine. Then you see others from North Georgia, they're over there heating to
I
death.
know. Our goats are on vacation when they go up there.
But so this kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about, but diets in animals, I feel like it obviously varies on what animal you have, but because I mean you may have one animal that's too green and you're trying to get them to grow more and fill out. But if there's just anything that y'all want to talk about diets in those specific species, or
I think a lot of people overlook feed. Like I feel like they just don't really. It's not talked about enough because you can take a calf that's kind of, and you can do the same thing with pigs and goats and lambs. But if you have a calf that's kind of like mediocre and you know how to feed, you can
You can do good things.
yes, 100%. And I feel like people overlook filler too. We need more filler.
Yeah. I know with pigs, there's so much stuff on the market you can use, and there's always, every year I'm always learning new things to do with pigs. Like for a while I didn't know tomato juice, it cuts out neck fat. I did not know that. So now we feed tomato juice sometimes, and there's so many like supplements you can put them on and different things, and there's so many like different feed options. You got linders, embargers, sugar, like there's all different kind of things. But we've always fed linders, and I've always had great outcomes with it. So
I feel like I don't have the best feed regimen. I've been trying to figure that out for a couple years now. But I feel like you can always improve what you're feeding. And it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to ask for advice from other people that have been doing this longer than you. And there's no shame in that. But I feel like there's a lot of different things that feed can accomplish, not just making your animal big. It does a lot more than that.
And I feel like one thing that you said, like asking for help, like maybe that one thing that the people can do is like maybe you're like right after weight class, you catch the judge, like maybe tell them what could I feed to improve this, this, and this. But I feel like it very much depends on the animal because you may have one animal that has a lot of fat and not not enough muscle, and then one that's just too much muscle. But and then yet again with them being too green and stuff, it just varies on the animal and what you're feeding. And like you said, there's just supplements beyond. There are
Yes.
supplements for everything, whether it's hair, muscle, fat. There's something for every single animal out there. But like Molly said,
Just trying to find it.
yeah. I feed umbarger, and I've been feeding umbarger goat feed to my lambs, and I just now switched back to lamb feed to see how well that's gonna work out. But
Yeah, I feed show right and Mormons most of the time, but I've been still trying to figure everything out lately.
I know we have county pigs, but we feed the pigs get Linder and the calves get Godfrey's, and I've been well pleased with both of them.
I don't know. I think the feed's called like Rule of Champions or something. But the
Yeah,
la-
we've
but
fed that before.
yeah, the lamb feed, it's like in a blue bag, and that stuff, it smells like a blue Jolly Rancher. Like it smells good. It smells like candy.
If I was a lamb, I'd want to eat that.
Yes.
And
It
then
smells
like
good, I'll eat it.
I feel like with that, there's like a lot of products you could use too, like not just them consuming stuff, but like products you can put on them. Like I know with y'all, whether what cattle you have, whether it's Brahmas or not, like hair stuff, and I know lambs are huge in shag now. Um, but the main thing comes down to genetics at the end of the day. You just gotta pick.
Yeah, I've had some calves just. You can get them to grow hair, but it's not in ample amounts. But I've had calves that I would, and this is bad on my part. Don't do this. But I've had calves before that are like a really clubby genetics, and I've kicked them out. And the next time I pulled them in the barn, like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, and worked them again. I mean, their hair is just as healthy, and sometimes I feel like they have more hair.
I'll say hair is a big struggle with pigs because some pigs, if their parents have good hair, then they're gonna have good hair. But it's really hard because now judges love the big thick legs with big hair, and it's really hard to find pigs that have that much hair and that they'll keep that much hair because our pigs are on concrete, and they lay on that concrete, and next thing you know they'll have a bald spot, and it's just hard to get that hair to grow back. I use powder foil all the time. Just using all kind of stuff on them.
Yep, like with lambs, I know leg shag is huge. Like you literally go to a show like my lamb's leg, well, it's not that bad, but it's also not the best. And then you go to shows and they're like this much around their legs, and it's just crazy. I always say they look like traffic cones on their legs, but it just comes down to the genetics at the end of the day. So you just got to have an animal with whether you're looking for good hair in it or not. But so moving on to this next topic, I don't really know how to bring it up, but kind of like the emotional bond that you have between your animals. So if y'all kind of want to explain how y'all built that bond and how y'all have had that before.
Well, if I'm being so honest, I just like to go out to the barn and sit with my goats. Like, I'll just go out there and they'll climb on me and come and lay in my lap and stuff like that. And I feel like just having that one-on-one time where there's no other distractions, like you're not trying to make them work for something or anything like that at that moment. You're just building that connection. I feel like that does a world of difference.
I definitely think if you have a good connection with your animals, I feel like they're gonna do better for you. Like they trust you and everything. So I know I had a pig one time. She did not want me to like really touch her a whole lot. So I sat in there on a bucket, and I sat there till she would literally come and like climb in my lap. So So I think I love spending time with my pigs. I know it seems like I don't sometimes because walking them it's a hassle sometimes. But you know, at the end of the day, like if you take a pig to the sale barn and you walk them through that sale and you put them in that pen, it's just like, dang, there's all my hard work going right there. Like I've cried a lot of times at county, but I know that like you know my hard work's paid off with them, and you know I get to do it again next year. You know I get more in, so it's a great experience showing livestock. I'm so grateful that I get to show. I love it. I wouldn't do anything else in my life.
I definitely think I'm more into the breeding heifers, so for the most part they stick around when we're done. But we've lost some, and we've had to get rid of a couple along, and it is really hard because you have these calves that built you and grew you as a person, and then you have to turn loose of them. But sometimes it's for the better, and eventually you'll see the outcome down the road, and it is hard. It is hard because you poured all your blood, sweat, and tears into them, and then, like Molly said, you have to. And I know that was county pigs, and I try not to get attached to county pigs because that's just not. I'm not really a pig person, but it is hard watching them walk on the trailer heading to the plant. It's hard.
Yep. One thing about me, I feel like Molly said, if you just sit in that pen with your animal and like you're building that bond, and like she said, they will work better if you have a better bond with your animals. Like my little show lamb from last year, she's like a 200-pound dog. It's like she follows me everywhere. I don't even have to have her on the halter.
Huge. Y'all haven't seen her? She's massive.
I just clipped her out yesterday, and the clippers gave out on me, and I thought I broke them, but they're just old. I have to get a new pair going out of here. But she's huge. She's like a 200-pound dog. Like she'll follow me everywhere. I don't need to have her on the halter. Like we don't have fencing in at the other house, but we're gonna get it in hopefully in January. And I don't even have to have her on the halter. She just follows me everywhere I go. And I feel like that was a good thing when she ran away in the ring because she came right back. But one thing I say, I wasn't too attached to my market barrow when I had him in 8th grade. I really just wanted that check. I was attached to him, like seeing him go on the trailer, and then you just look around and everybody in the barn, like some people are crying and some aren't. And then at the end of the day, like we have to stay and like we have to clean all their pens, and that's really when you see like people getting emotional. But I feel like if you see a kid getting emotional with their animal, you just know that they've worked with that animal and that they've put everything that they've had within that animal.
Especially when you get the ones that's their senior year, that just breaks my heart.
Yes. Oh yeah. It's gonna be some of us next year.
I know.
It's gonna be all three of us,
Yeah,
and then Molly, you
three of us.
have.
It's gonna all you.
All right, so getting into the specifics. So this is kind of going to be your section,
Okay.
Molly.
All right.
So what could you say like your daily routine looks like in the pig barn?
Okay, so I have a very busy routine. So I always feel like every second I get, I'm like, okay, I need to go work these pigs. I'm tired, but I need to go work them. I always complain about it because I do that about everything. But when I get down there, I love it. So we feed them in the morning. So I have 3 pigs right now. And then they get fed at night, mainly around 5:30. And then I let them eat, and then I come out and I walk the 2 babies that I have. I try to walk them. Since they're younger, I don't walk them as longer, but I start off about like 10 minutes. And then we just work it in increments of getting longer and longer. So right now we're about like 20 minutes. Not all the time do I walk that much. But I'm fighting with the sun right now because the sun goes down so early.
Yes.
And then normally I'll take one, put him in the wash pen, wash them off because pigs, they like to lay in their own poop a lot and it stains them. So I give them a bath almost every time I walk them. And then I'll take out the other one, walk her, and then, clean clean pens on a daily basis seems like, because pigs,
They're messy.
they are messy. They are very messy. And, you know, after you have a bath and you dry them off, and then we go into that skin and hair routine, and that's a really, really important key, because pigs, their skin will get so dried out really easily. So I started using this new conditioner lotion thing that I got from this lady. She's like a small business owner, and it actually works really well. So I spray that on them, and then brushing their hair, because if you do not brush a pig's hair, it will not lay down the way it needs to. So I remember my first year showing, I didn't brush them like they needed to because I didn't know. And I had hair that was just sticking up everywhere. It was rough. But, you know, spray them, brush them, and then I go in and put powder fur on their legs, just try to keep that hair in shape. And that's about it.
All right, so what would you say that a judge looks for in pig showmanship and in pig weight class?
Okay, so like I said earlier, in showmanship, your first 10 steps are the most important thing when showing pigs. So I know that I know me and my friends do this all the time, we fight for that first gate entrance, because you are the start of that class, and being the first one out there, and you do it right, you do your turns right, your pig's head is up, you're most likely you're going to win. You were first. He has a high standard for that first person, and it's like, oh my gosh, his mind keeps going back to that first person. So I think that what they normally look for is somebody who A, can keep control of their pigs, B, they can maneuver. We do like figure eights. So normally you come into the gate, and then you do your 3-point turn. You know, you give them a side profile, head profile, back profile, and you kind of go behind them and just kind of wait until that second to last person gets in, and then he's probably going to take a few steps forward and he's going to turn around. So you need to be that first person right there. You always want to be right there in front of the judge. I'm kind of mean in the show ring. We were up there in Perry for the fair, and I had some boy, and he was showing a Duroc for a showmanship pig, and I ran my pig right into that Duroc, and she just kept going, and I was like, good girl. Because I say it's war in there, because you're fighting for
You're
that
all
belt
fighting
buckle.
for it.
And overall, he looks for those people. He can tell how much time you spend with that animal, with how much control you have. It's basically control. I'd say that's the number one thing, because if you don't work your pig, that pig's easily just going to continuously run away from you, and it is very noticeable. But he also kind of looks for how you are like with other showmen. Like, are you able to maneuver through these? Do you stand out? Do you do something differently? And like your posture is another thing, because you have some people who put their hand out here, feel like they have a chicken wing, and it's just kind of like, okay, put your hand kind of down on your pocket, and you're like whip control. Are you sitting there beating that pig? You know, it's all. I had one judge say, he was like, you know, you get into these older division, like these older grades, and it's really hard to pick, because you know you get more talent the older you get. And he said something about all of us, we need to like lay off of our whips, because he said all I hear is pop, 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 pop. So I went home and I worked light taps, because that's, you know, a great indication of, you know, you don't have to beat your pig. So yeah.
Alrighty. So when you're choosing your pig for the season, what do you look for when choosing that hog?
There's a lot of things that go into choosing pigs. I know in the pig world, you know, you have your breeding gilts, and you have your market gilts, and you have your market barrows. So I can say for breeding gilts, I look for, you know, it's changed over the years. It's definitely, the look of pigs has changed. So So I look for, a long body, but you don't want them too long. You don't want them stretched out, but you want a nice long body because you're gonna carry these piglets. And then you want a good sized forearm on them. You don't want a narrow top. You want a nice wide top. Overall you want them to just blend well. And it's really hard choosing pigs on online sales. It's really hard. And we mostly get our pigs through online sales because you don't really have anywhere here in Georgia that really sell a bunch of good quality pigs. But I mean, we do have some people in Georgia who sell top-notch pigs, like Barry and Show Pigs. They sell some phenomenal pigs. Shout out to y'all. Ava and Gravy, y'all have some nice pigs. But for market hogs, I like mine big, beefy, square. Like, I think of it as almost like a weathered Emdo. You want them big and stout. Then market hogs, I have a market barrow at the house, and he is so square. Like, he just almost kind of looks like a bulldog, but he's not way out, but he's nice and balanced. Like, he's as square in the front as he is in the back. You want a pig to have a good amount of like ham on them. I call it the big butt pigs. The bigger the butt, the better. You want that nice top again. You want them wide, but you don't want to have a flat top. You want kind of that M shape, because that's a replication of like they have a really good loin. So if they have that M, you're gonna have more product off of them. And you don't really want like a fat pig. So that ties into like the diet. So I know like if you have a shorter pig, you don't want them to be too heavy because they're shorter, so their bellies are gonna look weird. And then if you have a taller pig, you want them to be kind of more fatter to kind of fill in that space.
Alrighty then. So moving on to mine and Alyssa's section, because people always confuse goats with sheep.
For sure.
What can you say? I done lost my train of thought. So what are some things that we can say that, like Molly said, that judges look for in showmanship and in weight class?
Honestly, I'm going to go off of what Molly said with posture. It's a lot different in the goat barn and the sheep because they show about the same way. But I feel like you need that intensity as far as showmanship goes, because I feel like a lot of showmanship with ours, I mean, it's showmanship everywhere. There's a lot of eye contact. And just leaving room in between animals, because when you show goats and cattle too, you have to line up across the front of the ring, kind of, sort of. So when you do that, you have to make sure that you're leaving enough room for the goat or the sheep in front of you and things to that nature. But it's a lot of, like, how professional you look while you're doing it. Like, do you know what you're doing when you're in there? Like, a lot of people go in and they know what they're doing, but they get so distracted about what's going on around them that they can't focus on their purpose for being in the ring. And I just feel like if you just zone in on that judge and your animal, it just narrows out all the distractions and you can do a lot better and compete.
Yeah, like one thing, like you said, eye contact is important. Like, you don't want to take your eyes off that judge. And I feel like one thing when you're setting your animal up, or yeah, that goes for both of us. When you're setting your animal up, this happened to me and Perry. Like, I didn't notice that she moved her leg, so she got out of place. She was still bracing, but she just moved her leg, and I didn't notice that. And then I noticed the judge kept staring at me, and now that I think about it, he was probably thinking if I was gonna set her up again. But one thing I would say, making sure your animal is set up right, and that, like you said, you have enough room. Because you don't want to be like right up on the tail of the lamb in front of you, and then not have enough room, and that's gonna look bad on you too from the judge's perspective. But I'll definitely say that are good things to look in showmanship. And with weight class, I feel like it can vary. With lambs, you want a flat top. So
Same with goats. You want a flat top.
And you can elaborate more on the goat stuff, because I don't really know about goats.
Well, you want them to be big-legged, of course, just like with any other animal, and you want to be able to see the indication of that muscle, because primarily most of the shows around here aren't breeding shows, they're market shows, so you pretty much slick them other than their legs, so they don't have a lot of hair, and you want to be able to see that muscle definition. And when you come up, and when that judge comes up and feels the top, you want them to be able to feel that there's something other than fat right there, because I feel like if you're not working your animal as much as you should, you're not going to feel that muscle. You have to build that. They're not just, I mean, some animals naturally have it, but you still have to build on it for it to be able to be shown off as good as it could be in the ring.
And one thing, like you said, when the judge goes up to feel, I don't know how big it is in goats, but with lambs, conditioning their hide, that's so important when that judge goes up to feel. Because if I were to go up to my lamb right now because she just got clipped out, and I went to go feel, she'll be dry as like heck.
Yeah.
And like you'd want them to be like smooth, so like he can feel their whole rack and everything. And like you said, making sure they have enough leg wool, because leg wool, it makes that like illusion that they're bigger boned, so they look bigger. But definitely they'll look for a flat top and make sure they're filling out fine.
The square front too. They need to be square from the front and the back, especially when you're bracing and you step off. You want them to be able to see that big chest and all that they have to offer from the front end.
And I feel like I said earlier with weight class, it's all about covering up the imperfections. So if you need to set your lamb wider, set them up wider.
We have a lot of goats, or we don't have goats per se, but we have in the past that break real bad down their back. It's not that their backs are broken, but you just have to get your calf kind of up under them more to make it even out so that they don't look like they're bowed in their back, because you want their top line to be straighter.
And like you said earlier with posture, the posture is definitely different in the goat and the lamb showmanship. With lamb showmanship, it's kind of like you literally have your lamb in front of you and like you want to scoot back. I don't know if that makes sense, but like
It's like you're going to fall over.
yeah, it's
Right.
like it's literally
It
like
feels like you're
gonna
gonna fall over.
It's literally like you're gonna fall back. And what I noticed in the goat barn, like y'all kind of stand up. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we do. I try to keep my shoulders back so that I don't look like I'm standing over my goat, and sometimes that's harder. I'm not super tall, but like my little sister is really tall, and she has a hard time like being right where she needs to be and like laying off of her goat a little bit, because you brace them differently, lambs and goats. It's all still bracing, but it's just a little bit different. And I feel like with goats, it's a lot, I don't want to say less extreme, but it's kind of less extreme, because with lambs, like they get this big stance, and we just kind of try and stay close, and I feel like it gives us more control in a way.
Yep. And one thing that I would also say, hand placement, where how you place your hands on their head. One thing that I've always got taught is finger guns.
Yeah.
Like that. That's how you're gonna hold them up. But
Yeah, we do ears up, because goats usually their ears flop, but with like does, they usually still have horns. Like most of the time wethers, and I know a lot of show sheep don't have their horns, but we try to like grab our hands up under their horns and flip their ears up, because that's become really popular in the past couple years. So
yep.
try to stay with the trends.
So how could you say that you prepare your goats for the show ring?
Well, I say every day when I get the chance, because we're all super busy, and I also run cross country, so I don't have a lot of afternoon, especially now because of the weather or the time change or whatever. And so I try to go out there. I usually do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and go out there for 20-30 minutes and just walk and brace and practice a little bit. Put them on the stands sometimes. Trim their hooves, because their hooves get so overgrown so easily. But I'm not as good as I can't even talk. I'm not as good about working my goats as I should be. I know that I could do a lot more, and I admit that. I'm not gonna act like I go out there every day and work them for an hour and a half. But I feel like I could do more. But we'll go out there, me and my sister, because we do a lot together, and we'll go out there and get them out and walk around our pecan orchard because they're right in an orchard. So we'll walk around, and most of the time my dad will be out there or my mom, and they'll kind of act as a judge, and we just kind of try bracing and things like that. And a lot of times we'll switch goats and work that way because we're different people and we show differently. But there's always a possibility that she'd have to show mine or I'd have to show hers, and we have to be ready for that.
Yep, I feel like with me, I would, like, it's hard with this time change because right after I get after school, I feel like it's already getting dark.
I know.
And then after drive to the lamb barn, and that's about 15 minutes from here. And by the time I get there, like, by the time I'm done washing them with the water hose, like, the sun's setting.
Right.
And then that blower, I have a single blower, and it takes forever. And, like, there's some days, like, back when we did not have the time change, like, I would work them, and right after I'd work them, how do I say it? After I would work them, I would bathe them, because, you know, that hot South Georgia weather,
Yes.
and they just get tired of getting work, so I'll just spray them down with the hose and work their leg hair. But this kind of goes hand in hand with what we're about to talk about next, like our daily routines and
Yes.
stuff. But I tried to do like you said every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But I'm always so busy. Like you said, I'm not gonna say I go out there and work them every single day.
Yeah.
Like I feed them in the morning, I feed them in the afternoon, and then usually I try to work them at least 2 days a week.
Yeah.
And I'd go out there, I work them, work. I can't talk today. I'll go out there and work them for like 30 minutes, and then after I work them, like it's either each day it's either I work them or I bathe them because it's
Right.
just
It's
gets
too
dark.
much to do all at one time sometimes.
It just gets too dark so fast, and I'll definitely say working leg hair. And that's one big thing with me. There's a ton of products you can use. Pro Hair, that's like I stand by Pro Hair by Weaver. It works like a dream and it smells amazing. And like I use it like at shows. I use it every single like time I go out there and work them. And I work the leg hair. They get fed twice a day, and I try to clean their pens once a week.
Yeah. Our goats are actually, they don't really have shavings. They're more so on like dirt and there's like a lot of grass and clover and things like that. And I have to watch blow a lot with it. But, so I don't clean their pens per se very often. But when they get really bad, I'll go in there and figure out everything. But it's not a lot of, to be honest, they're not super high maintenance. Like when they get sick is when you have to do the most, I feel like.
Yeah, but that's like you said, it's not that high maintenance. It just depends on the type of person that you are, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because I know people that go out there every single day. And I
Yeah.
could never be that person.
I mean, I go out there every
Yeah.
day, but I don't go out there and work
work 'em.
necessarily every day.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times by the time I get home, it's dark. Like, it gets dark at 6 o'clock, and I don't get out of the ag parking lot until 5 o'clock, and I have a 30-minute drive home, so.
So, we did that. So, how could you say that, like, you prepare for show day? Like, when you're at the show preparing to go in the ring?
Well, I feel like, I don't know, with goats, I feel like they have, like, the least amount of preparation, other than pigs.
Yeah, it
Like,
takes a lot.
Yeah, they take a lot more than we do, I honestly think.
Pigs takes forever.
We just go and usually I'll just wash and blow them out. And I try to brush up on their hair while we're blowing them out. And usually I already have them clipped before we get there because that is so much to do when you're sitting there in the barn, especially because there's so much going on and there's people everywhere and things like that. So I usually will clip and have all that already done and then get there and wash all the dust off of them because they somehow manage to get, I don't understand how much dust they can get on them between there and the house or from the house to there or whatever. So we'll wash and blow dry and brush up on all that hair so that it's trying to stick up a little more, especially on their legs. And then usually that's about it. And then we'll fit legs when we get closer to time to show. But other than that, I'll put some final bloom on them and we just go in there and do what we know how to do.
One thing I would say, like when you get to a show, find an outlet first, and then
Oh, yeah.
Plan
Well,
it.
my ag
Yeah.
teacher is usually there before me, and she always like plugs like this three-way thing into like two outlets so that we have something.
like one thing that we've done one year, or I say one year, this year at the fair, we've like last year I can't remember where we like last year we were in the aisle, so there's easy access to outlets there. But this year we were out in the tents, and it's harder to try to get an outlet out there because everybody has those outlets with extension cords, and I mean it's 2 plugs per outlet. So a lot of people bring generators out there, and I went out. We were at fair. We're like, it sounds like our neighborhood. You just hear generators running everywhere because it was right after the hurricane. But definitely find an outlet because if you can't plug a blower in, I mean,
You're done for.
You're done for. But what I do, like you said, we try to get them clipped before we go up there. And if there's time, like I know at the fair this year, I had so much extra time. I just clipped them while I was up there, and blended legs. And I learned how to do that. I did it for the first time at the show in Douglas, and it looked horrible.
It did not.
It wasn't the best, but definitely fitting legs. And then I spray in leg pop in their legs, and it makes, I don't know what it does. It does something. I know it works because I tell the difference. But it basically like separates their hair from clumping up, so it looks better. It looks more filled out. And then we'll go in the ring, spray some conditioning spray right before we go in. We make our own, or I make my own, because I feel like livestock's all about making concoctions and seeing what works and what doesn't. And drenching on a hot day,
Oh
like
yeah.
just
It's
a cold water
important.
bottle, yes, because
Whether it be water or anything else.
they may not be drinking as much as they need to be.
Yeah.
So I'd say drenching. Like I don't drench nothing special because I know I see people at shows. They mix like Sunny D and chocolate milk and all this stuff together.
Yeah, we've done that before. I feel like our goats really struggle with scours. Oh my gosh, it's such a big problem for us. But so we try to lay off the drench until we get there and they're like about to go in, just because it makes it so much worse sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like I always set a timer for every 2 hours when I'm at a show, and I will drench them every 2 hours about like 100 or 150 cc's. And I always use a cold water bottle, like right out of the cooler. But I would definitely say that, and it also helps them to brace because it makes their muscles pop out more once they're all flushed out with water. But I feel like that's all we had. That was our spill on our sheep and goat. So moving on to Cora with cattle. So what are some things that you look at when you're purchasing a show calf?
Okay, so like I said, we mainly have heifers. So for us, it's if they can't walk, they're not going to get on the trailer and go home with you. So soundness from the ground up is extremely important because in the long run, you're looking at them having carrying capacity and being able to be able to move with themselves and the calf, and they can't walk, they really ain't no good to you. So that's extremely important. Femininity is really, really important across the board, commercial and breeding heifer wise. You don't want them gobby fat or just kind of dumpy looking. So femininity is important. You don't call them stretchy. I like stretchy heifers. Just kind of framey, not crazy framey, but framey enough that they're over time they're gonna have that capacity to feed out and to carry those calves and just longevity. The longevity is gonna be better on them because we show cattle for 2 years, depending on how their birthdays work out. So that's normally pretty important. It's just finding one with all the right parts and pieces that fit what you want to do as an end result. So, yeah.
So Can you explain like what your daily routine looks like with working your cattle?
I'm not gonna lie to y'all either. My daily routines are like crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
Between like this week, y'all had the contest here, and I came and worked the contest, and between cattlemen's and FFA chapter and area stuff, and running my little sister around too, because she's in middle school ag now, so it's back and forth, and I'm not as diligent as I should be on my daily routine by no means, but I really, I as far as like when we get green calves in the barn, I'm very diligent about them because you're trying to get them broke and worked every day and settled down, and you're building those bonds and tying and rinsing and trying to get those calves stuck, and working on showmanship is extremely important with green calves, and the older they get, the worse I am, honestly. When you have a calf that's broke and is a year and a half, 2 years old, then they pretty well know the name of the game. So it's kind of repetitive. But as far as I can do both. I'll talk about my Brahma / American routine, and then my haired calf routine. And I'm by no means an expert on anything haired, but as far as getting calves work, tie them, blow all their dirt out, try to get their skin and hide as clean as possible, and so depending on how dirty it is, like it's been really wet around the house for a while, so once it dries out, it's not too bad, but just trying to rinse maybe 3 times a week and washing 1 or 2, just depending on how dirty and how nasty it is, because I don't have pens to keep calves in right now, so ours are all out in the pasture. And that can be challenging sometimes because my sister's, for whatever reason, always decides to lay in mud by choice. So she's probably the hairiest one of the bunch, and just getting her clean and letting their skin and hair breathe and just kind of take a break is really important. As far as like American cattle, we just occasionally spray them off with a water hose. Wash maybe once every 2 weeks. That's about it. And just getting cattle tied, because that plays into showmanship, I feel, is if you're not tying calves and working calves, then they're going to give you a fit when you go into the ring, because they're going to get tired and they're going to get irritable, and then it's just going to be bad for you and them, because you're going to fight them the whole time. And especially, like Molly said, you'll have a runner occasionally, but just having them broke and prepared ahead of time is going to be a lot less stressful for you and your animals. So tying and doing your homework at home is extremely important.
All right. So can you tell me how you would prepare for show day, or what you do at the show to prepare to go in the ring?
So most of the time I try to clip at home on my haired calves. I try to clip at home and just prepare. If you have to dye, you can dye them at home, and it makes it a lot less stressful when you're trying to wrangle kids and get everything together. But as far as getting to the show, just making sure that your calves are eating and drinking properly, and that you have them full as possible, and looking their best and feeling their best is extremely important. Fitting is huge in the cattle industry, and I am by no means an expert. I can hold my own, but sitting there watching the younger kids is what's really cool to me, because they are jam up a lot of
They're on
kids.
it.
They are on it. But we don't really hire anybody to fit, so it's mainly me, and sometimes I'll get my friends and we'll fit calves. And starting off though, you need to make sure your skin and your hair is clean and dry, and all your shavings and dirt blown out. Starting with a clean base is extremely important, and then I always say spray a little comb a lot, because you don't want gummy looking legs and top lines, and it makes it a lot less hassle to clip when you get done if you haven't gummed up your hair. So That's important. And it's not good to leave product in either. So like as soon as we get done showing, we go break them down and wash them and try to get all that gunk off of them because you gotta let that hide breathe because if not, they're gonna start sucking all their hair and then you've defeated the purpose.
Yeah.
But as far as my calves that don't have any hair, sheen, make sure they're clean, washed. Tie them in the sun somewhere and let them dry, and then sheen them or oil them good before you take them in, and it's boogity boogity.
Let them air dry.
Yes, and that's basically it. It's a one and done. That's how I like it.
All right, so moving on, we're almost done. So since we've all shown livestock for, I'd say, a decent amount of time, some way longer than others, what could you say that your goals in the livestock industry are, and what do you hope to achieve in the future?
There you go. Okay. So I'll start off with what I want to achieve in the future. I would love to win grand champion at the state show. Grand champion, probably like market hog or breeding. It doesn't matter. I just want a big check, and I want a big banner because that right there is just a really good indicator. Like, wow, I did that. So my goals, winning more belt buckles. It's always nice winning those because it's all about that hard work paying off. And my goal is to, just getting more kids involved with showing livestock and, being there for younger generations. Because, like our show seasons, they're about to be over. But, we got to be there for those younger kids and, not really coaching them, but, being there, teaching them about skin and hair, the importance of bathing and walking and breaking and stuff like that.
I think for me, what's our question again? Your
No.
goals.
Yeah.
Some of my goals at this point, I've been fairly successful, and at this point, I'm looking towards the future, and I'm trying to aim my purchases towards building my own herd and raising productive cows. And sometimes you have to weigh your choices. Like, this might not be the best show heifer, but she's going to put me in production where I want to be, and I feel like that's where I am at this point. It's not really about me anymore. It's about having an impact in the future and trying to get kids set up to be successful and to have a good show career.
Well, I don't know exactly how much longer I will be in the livestock industry as a showman. We're all gonna be seniors next year, except for Molly. But our goat herd has substantially decreased in the past year or so. We've had a lot of unexpected circumstances with our animals. So, probably after I graduate, I will not be in the industry anymore. However, I hope to become an ag teacher eventually, and hopefully I can instill what I know so far and what all of you have taught me about other species also into those kids and help them as much as I can, because in the end, the goal is to teach them that responsibility and to have more people involved in the livestock industry. Because regardless of if you end up having the biggest breeding operation or you show for a year in high school, it makes a difference in your life.
One thing, like one of my goals will definitely be, like Molly said, maybe winning showmanship, getting a buckle, and maybe getting grand champion one year.
Just 1 year.
Yeah. But what I want to see in the future, definitely starting my own production. Right now, that's why I'm showing breeding ewes, because I want to have them and start my production. I'm hoping to get them bred next July, so they'll be born by January, so then I can sell them at a reasonable price to some kids that maybe want to get in the show industry. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to achieve, starting my own production. And like all y'all have mentioned, like getting younger generation into it. Because I mean, agriculture is the backbone of America. You know, some kids need to see where their food comes from, and I mean, showing livestock is kind of like that next step. They get to learn more about it, and I feel like they definitely learn responsibility. So,
And if we don't take them under our wing and foster them, then nobody's going to, and then it just withers and dies.
We have another generation that knows nothing about where their food comes from.
That's definitely not what we want.
Right.
so this next question, it's has there been has there been anyone who has helped you along the way while showing livestock?
Well, I've had a lot of other people that have mentored me. Not necessarily that even show goats, but like I have a lot of cattle people that have helped me out, especially Cora. They've all been a big part of my life, and well, wait, what was the question again?
Like, has there been anyone that has helped you along the way while showing livestock?
Okay, so definitely my people in the cattle barn, as well as like my ag teachers. They've been a really big part of it. Like I said earlier, Miss Corbin, which is our middle school ag teacher, is the one that actually got me started in showing livestock. And then since then, all of my ag teachers have been really supportive, as well as my parents. And then my sister started showing, so I'm kind of like her little ag teacher. Like I'm like her own personal coach over here. So I just feel like there's a lot of people that have influenced me as far as what I've done so far and what I hope to continue to do in the industry.
So I'll go next. So when I first started showing, there was a lady that my parents grew. Well, they all kind of knew each other through high school and stuff, and her name is Miss Dana. She was a 4-H extension lady, and I remember her like coming to our elementary school, and I always knew her because she knew my parents, and she always tried to get me to show sheep because her daughter showed sheep. And convincing my parents to do things is very, very hard. But then we finally started showing pigs, and I remember her coming out to the house to begin with, and just kind of telling me, kind of like what to do. So that's what really like started me. So I always thank her every time I see her. Thank you for, just starting me off on the right track. And then, your ag teachers. I'm not one who's gonna ask questions. I'm always like, you can ask questions. It's okay. But I don't want to. I have to figure it out for myself. But definitely having those ag teachers there, just to ask questions. And then now that I'm at the high school, because 10th graders are new to the high school, and I have an ag teacher. His name's Mr. Burt, Mr. Will Burt. I love him to death. He just came up to me one day and he said, "Hey, I watched you show at the fair. You're right there at being with those top-notch showmanship people." He offered to come to the house and work with me with showmanship, and I'm so thankful for that because now I've been picked for final drives just about every single show we go to now.
I hate to say any names because I don't want to leave anybody out, but there's
There's
been
a lot of more people too.
there's been so many people that have just helped me and just kind of took me under their wing. Some families in the barn that have just took time out of their day to sit there and help you learn how to fit, how to feed, and just being great role models and friends. My parents especially for hauling us all over the place and letting this be such an important part of our childhood and just really enjoying it. And people like higher up in the industry, I know this is kind of not related to the show industry, but there's one guy that's pretty high up in ABS in the semen distribution and mess, and he's really and he's really helped me as far as getting into like the reproduction and the AI side of things, and he set me on the right path and really just kind of took me under his wing, and I've really appreciated that. So shout out to Mr. James Humphrey. You're awesome.
people that I would definitely say would be my ag teachers, because I mean, without them researching this whole new project, I would know nothing about it. Um, and definitely the McClendons. They have helped me with every step along the way. At every show, they'll set up a tent right next to theirs, and that tent, they're like, you can come here, you can set up right here. And they helped me with everything. They taught me how to blend legs. They taught me what to feed. And I feel like without them, I just like would not be where I am in the show world. They've definitely helped me with every step, and so have a lot of their friends, the D's, and then again my ag teachers, and then my sister for driving me to the shows. um, but they have definitely helped me, and they've been there every single step of the way. And whenever I ask them for help, they're always willing to, and especially their kids. You learn a lot from the younger generation, just watching them show, and then they'll explain to me what I can do better. And I honestly feel like it's better for them to tell me how to do it than the adults. Um, but they've definitely helped me along the way, and that's some people that have. But the final question before we end this is, if there's any advice you can give to the younger generation, that are wanting to get into showing livestock, what would you tell them?
Do it.
Don't be
Without
scared.
a doubt.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
full
just,
sin.
Just do it. If you have hard time convincing your parents, talk to your ag teachers, and they will always figure out something. They can work something out for you. I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to get to show livestock. I've learned so many important things in my life, like responsibility. It is a great responsibility. It's more than just owning a dog, feeding. It's a lot more than that, and you learn a lot about agriculture and how important that species is, and it plays a key role. And you meet a lot of new people. I've made friends. I met this girl from Lee County at a pig show, and now she's like one of my best friends. And it brought me closer to some of my ag teachers, with them helping me and stuff. And I will not take any of it for granted. So just do it. I'm taking it from Nike. Just do it.
I think my biggest piece of advice will be just to not be scared. Your ag teachers will find a way for you to do it. My parents were not on board at first, but it took some talking into. But I think that any ag teacher could figure it out. Because my parents are very stubborn, just like me. So it takes a lot to be able to convince them to do anything. So just don't give up on your dreams. And also, if you ever wanted to contact like any of us, I'm sure any of us would help you as much as we can and get you in contact with someone who has the kind of stock you want to show or whatever. So, yeah, just don't be scared.
I definitely have to say, I've always been a baptism by fire, just like jump head first. Don't get discouraged. Just keep working hard, and it's gonna pay off. I've met so many amazing people. Like, I wouldn't know any of y'all if it wasn't for area and just taking chances. And yeah, but I think my biggest piece of advice is just go for it, and have fun doing it. Like, a lot of people lose sight of that nowadays. It's just buckles and banners, and they forget to just.
Way more than that.
It's so much more than that. It's about the relationships you build, and the people you get to meet, and the places, and how that's going to affect you down the road, setting you up for better things.
You'll never experience that unless you do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Just do it.
One thing that I would say is, don't be scared to ask for help. There's a million opportunities that you can have, but you just have to ask for it. You just have to get out there, put yourself out there, and talk to people, whether it's an ag teacher or a friend that you know that shows livestock. Don't be scared to ask for help. Like, there's a million programs out there. FFA does grants that they give out to start projects. They give grants to expand projects, and all you have to do is apply, and you'll get all the help that you need. And I feel like we all have amazing ag teachers. They will find a way. If there's a will, there's a way. And I don't know one ag teacher that does not have connections with people. Like they know. I always say ag teachers know anybody and everybody. Like everywhere you go with them, they turn a corner, they know somebody.
They never meet a stranger.
Never.
So just don't be scared to ask for help. That's
No.
my advice.
No, you're never too big to ask for help. You might be stubborn. It might take a little bit more, but we always have stuff to learn and always have room to improve. So ask for help. Ask questions. That's how you learn.
Yep. Well, I just want to thank y'all for coming out here.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. I really thank y'all a lot. I don't know how y'all know how much this means to me, but I really thank y'all for coming out here, and we thank y'all for watching or listening, whichever one that you're doing. And make sure to follow us on all of our social media to stay updated. And again, thank you for watching.